Welcome everyone to yet another video by Timing Trades. In this video, I'm going to review W.D. Gann's recommended reading list. The objective of this particular video are twofold. So the first objective basically is to direct people to what they need to read for whatever objective they might have. So the several objectives that I assume most people have. One, people perhaps may just want to be able to use this information to trade markets, so any markets, whether it might be the stock market or the commodities market or forex or the foreign exchange market, or sorry, not the forex exchange market but the currency market to be particular, or the crypto markets, Bitcoin, the Doge coins there, and all the cryptos that are coming, are already currently available or yet to come, or synthetic indices. We have got VIX 75, VIX 100. We have got boom and crash. We have got step index. We have so many other synthetic indices. These are provided by derivative broker. So that's just for the market. So people might just want to trade just those market, any market rather. So in this recommended review of the recommended list by W.D. Gann, you should be able to know which books in particular you're supposed to read if you want to basically learn from him things that you're supposed to apply in trading any market. Another objective that people might have is probably just to be able to forecast events in a person's life. So there are books that are particularly recommended in this reading list that should help in just that area. So there might be others that are looking to be able to invest wisely in either a country, a certain location, in a certain country, location, or city, or province, or region. So there's specific astrology in this recommended release that is applicable to that alone, right? So by the end of the video, you should be able to, if you have that objective in mind in learning this, you should be able to know how to maneuver the recommended list. If your objective, however, is to perhaps bet on racing games and all other type of games based on chance or possible outcome, right? You should be able to forecast you should be able to develop your forecasting strategy around particular books that were recommended in this list. So apart from that objective, the next objective that I'm making this video is so that once this recommended list, you have exhausted the books that are currently were given, rather, how do you maneuver countless other books that are currently out there on the net, videos. We have so many courses, videos, and books out there. How do you move away from this list and still be able to focus your research, particularly driven by your objective, either to trade markets, either to forecast events in a person's life, and either to forecast events of a certain location, country, province, region, or just basically an outcome of a certain game that you want to know. So by the end of the video, you should be able to know how to navigate other resources that are outside this recommended reading list. So to start with, W.D. Gann recommended this list to his students or people that were subscribed to him, right? In total, all the books were about 76 books. They were categorized into 3 segments. Neurology, as you can see here, right? We have got astrology, that was the second, the biggest actually segment that was recommended, and the other second biggest rather recommended segment was the scientific and miscellaneous books. So this was second biggest category, but the first small and the smallest recommended category was basically neurology. So I'll start with neurology. So neurology, first and foremost, it's applicable, right, to racing games or just outcomes of certain games that you might want to know, be it football, be it lotto, be it whatever game that you want to forecast. Neurology is a must, they're also applicable to forecasting of events of a human being, right? So if you want to forecast events in the life of a human being, yours or someone else's, generally you will still need to know neurology, right? So the application first of neurology is either in games or racing games, if I that sense, and application to human beings or forecasting of human beings, right? That's the first thing that you need to note, right? The other thing is that you need to note, apart from basically the fact that they're applicable to human beings and games, is that it's just one side of that coin that you need to know, rather. So neurology has to be married with astrology if you have to be able to accurately predict or to forecast events in the life of a human being or an outcome of a game. So you have to know neurology, master it, and also master astrology. So we'll come to astrology when we get there. So first of all, in neurology, the 2 books that are my favorite. First of all, the whole recommended reading book list, I have basically read all of the books. So with neurology, I think my favorites were the ones by Cefario, the Kabbalah of Numbers 1, part 1 and part 2 of the Kabbalah of Numbers by Cefario. Those were my absolute favorite in this category. So you can start with them, and then the second place you might want to read after Cefario's introducing you basically to the world of numbers and their possible application, you might want to read the book by Mrs. Dole, right? So she had there were 3 books by her that were recommended, um, uh, which is Philosophy of Numbers. There's Number Vibration in Questions and Answers, and The Days of Wisdom According to Number Vibration. So you can read those next, and then you can basically, after that, you can just basically read through the other neurology books recommended, right? So once you basically get the gist of how numbers operate and how you can use them, glimpses rather, how you can use them in forecasting certain events, right, of a particular class of games and human beings, you should then afterwards move ahead to the next segment, which is astrology. So for astrology, I'll be very particular about what I mentioned, because astrology basically deals with or is applicable with almost everything. So with all the objectives that you might want, whether it's market or it's investing in certain locations, you want to know basically information about how the location will respond in future years, what events are likely to happen, occur in that location, in that government, in that city or region. Astrology recommendations, there are already books for that here. uh, so if you want to basically forecast human events in a human's life, there are basically books that have been recommended here. So basically there's everything uh, that has been recommended. Everything has been recommended when it comes to astrology. So whichever objective that you might have, there's a book here uh, that will do specifically with what you might want to achieve at the end of the day. So I'll start with human events and games, since we're just from talking about them in the first segment of neurology section of neurology. So when it comes to human events, you might want to read more about orally astrology. So you might read Robert, the first recommended reading book. There are a couple of others. Let's see. So the Guide to Astrology by Fred White, The Fortunate Hours, The Stars. Okay, not that one. So rectification of the horoscope, that is applicable to human beings, so you might want to read that. Apart from those, there is Your Star and Destiny by Paul. This is truly applicable only to much rather to human beings, so you might want to read that. Yes, so basically those are a few recommendations that you might want to do. So if it has to do with racing games, rather with games, application to games, you might want to read The Silver Key by Cifario. The Silver Key by Cifario is a very good book when it comes to issues of predictions of gaming, of games and the like. So when it comes to games, I think you might just want to read Cifario. There's The Silver Key and other books that he has written, but basically based on this recommended reading list, The Silver Key is a good go for learning how to use astrology for assist for predicting games, the outcomes of games. So when it comes to mundane astrology means you're looking at astrology that is particularly applied to events or forecasting of events of a certain location, country, uh, government, city, and all that. There are a couple of books here. So there is first and foremost the most beautiful book written here, Raphael's Mundane Astrology Part 1, 2, and 3. It's a very good book that you have to basically read if you want to know about that. There are a couple. Actually, most astrological books are written for mundane type of astrology. In fact, there are more of mundane astrological books than any other segment, or mundane astrological books and horary or horoscope type of astrology. So human events and country, city, or location based events. So Raphael's mundane astrology is perhaps one of the key books that you have to read if you are looking to forecast events of a certain location or country or government. Oh, there is the Earth in the Heavens, ruling cities, ruling degrees of cities, the stars. Okay, so both his books, Edward So both books by Edward stars how and where they influence and the earth in the heavens, ruling cities, ruling degrees rather of cities. You might want to read those. Um, yes. So even the one by Fred White, The Guide to Astrology, is also a good book in that area. So he gave a very general overview of mundane affairs and just a bit of horary astrology. Yeah. Now coming to the gist of the recommended list, most people are traders. Most people are into investing in stocks, bonds, uh, cryptos, synthetic indices, currencies. The books that I must read in the astrological section is firstly all the books by Cefario. When I mean all the books, I mean all the books. So the first of all, Cefario's books were the most recommended. So starting with uh, Raphael's astrology part 1 and 2, you have to read it. uh, Astrology explained by Cefario, you have to read it. There is the law of values, you have to read it. The silver key, you have to read it. The directional astrology, you must read it. There is the science of foreknowledge. This is the best actually when it comes to markets. Yeah. So the law of values, to be precise, first of all, I'd say the silver key is basically for events or outcomes of certain games. But law of values particularly is more to mundane astrology. It's not application in markets that we trade, like gold market or Bitcoin trading, that kind of issue. No, it's specific for mundane type of astrology. So if you're investing in a certain location, you might want to know what a certain country's um, a certain country's fundamentals are. Let me use that word, fundamentals. You might want to know what certain countries' fundamentals are. So you might want to trade based on fundamentals. So if you know that this economy, let's say this economy of this particular location is going to face uh, some challenges in the coming few years, you might want to sell stocks from that you bought in that particular location, or stocks for that particular location, and might want to buy from another economy that might be seemingly will be doing well in a few years. So it's investing based on the fundamentals of a certain location, um, province, country, city, and all that. So even real estate, you can do the same. If a certain location is going to boom, you might want to be able to read the law of values and be able to apply it to looking at the fundamentals of a certain location. So the law of value is not necessarily uh, trading the markets or investing the markets based on how we do it, like technicals. No, no, no. This is based on fundamentals. How the particular location that you have put your money in. Let's say you have bought UK stocks, for example. Um, if the UK, if you have assessed the fundamentals or the mundane astrological forecast of that particular location, which is UK, London to be specific, you might, and if you find that the economics of that location based on your forecasts uh, are showing that the city is going to improve, right? Basically, in a certain in terms of real estate and all that, you might want to invest your money in that particular location, perhaps, and it's going to continue improving for the next 5 years, you might want to invest your money in there, right? In that particular segment that's going to be improving. Let's say it's real estate. You might want to do that. If it's railways, you might want to. You might really know what to do. You might look at the stocks, railway stocks, or you might want to look at energy stocks if that's the energy industry that's going to boom. But that those stocks for that particular location that you're looking at. So the law of values is not really application in how we trade markets based on technicals. No, it's based on mundane astrology, so it has to look at locations. So when it comes to stocks, which are generally traded anywhere in this world, you don't have to really know the law of values. No, no. What you have to know is the Science of Knowledge by Cefario. The Science of Knowledge by Cefario. That's the one that's applicable directly to markets that we basically trade on MT4, MT5, and the like. So apart from that, there is solar biology. Solar biology, these are applications to mundane, particular applications to mundane astrology. So mundane astrology is location based. So if you want to not just look at how a particular type of the economy, whether it's a railways or it's a sector of an economy, whether it's the railways or should I say weather or transportation and all that stuff. If you want to know that, solar biology is specifically rather meant to know about how it's going to affect the human beings. So it might deal with issues like sicknesses and all that stuff, and the bodily result that astrology has on the human body. Apart from that, there's another one that specifically was meant for weather. So sunspots and weather. This was specific segment in the whole mundane astrology. So you might want to look at that. So that's basically it about astrology. When it comes to scientific and miscellaneous, the he's basically he listed books that are basically helping one develop proper psychology, a proper mindset, a proper regime that someone has to be having on a daily basis. So I'll give an example, a few examples. So there's the yoga system of study. So this is all about just having make sure that your mind is up to par, right? Your skill might be there, but if your mind has doubts, if your mind has drawbacks in terms of your body is not in health and all that stuff, it's going to be a problem. So the reason why I gave scientific and miscellaneous books, this was just basically to be able to having had the skills developed from the first two segments, which is astrology and the neurology segments. The miscellaneous and scientific was to just help generally develop one's confidence, psychology. One good book actually is the spiritual radio by Archbishop Du. So this one was basically talking about how thoughts manifest and how we receive thoughts and how we send thoughts, basically, and how our thoughts basically make us who we are, and how our thoughts create the world that we literally live in, right? So it's a really good book, and the books here are basically ones to read, right? So yeah, so there's one by Godman, The Word Made Flesh. It's a really good book. Um, Actually, most of the books by George, um, The Chemistry and Wonders of the Human Body. These are just helping you to understand the human body and perhaps how best to treat it so that it's in its perfect health. And once it's in its perfect health, it should be able to give you a level of vibration that should respond or make you manifest your skills in an environment that is conducive for you to grow in and also to really make money. So the miscellaneous and scientific books are really good books for psychology and bodily growth. So you might want to really make sure that you read them. So there is also Cosmic Causation in Geophysics. It's a good book. There's apparently, I never thought I would find such a book, but it's a good book. The doctors prescribed colors. Basically, how do you design an environment around you that basically promotes health of your body and the like? So these are really, really, and I mean really good books that you must read. That you must read. Surround yourself with the right environment. Draw up a regime based on how or on the recommendations that have been given, and you should be able to focus your energies in order to make use of the skills that you have developed in astrology and neurology to be able to forecast accurately and be able to execute rather these trades. So having given the review of the recommended reading list, there's one last objective I need to do, and then we'll call it then we'll end the video. So the last objective I mentioned was, once you have read all the 75, at least 73 books, which actually are available to everyone, once you read them, if you wanted to read more than these books, how do you approach them? So one key issue that you need to remember is that in these actual books, the 73 that are available to everyone, right? The three and which are not available, please just don't worry about them. You haven't lost much because the other 73 have everything that you need. So when it comes to how do you proceed to read other books on the internet that you might find outside these books, the simple approach is that don't go look for those books. No. In these recommended reading list, there are books that have been recommended. I'll give an example. The first approach that you might take is basically, if there's a book that has been recommended within any of these books that you're reading, any person who has been mentioned, right? Please look up that person. If they've written any book, please read it up. I'll give an example of one book in the astrological section that basically changed my understanding of astrology and its application in trading markets or forecasting markets. The book I read was, when I got to the Science of Foreknowledge by Cefario. There's a chapter on financial, should be financial astrology or something, or financial something, right? There's a chapter in this book called financial something, right? So in that particular verses, he recommended two books that he himself had written, and said that if one needed to know how to apply astrology to specifically trading any market, they needed to read them up and look them up and read them. So since he didn't give more details about how to do that in this book, I looked up those books. One of the books was The Law of Values, which was recommended by Gann himself. The other book was The Arcana, Stock and Share Key. The Arcana, Stock and Share Key by Cefario. So that was the most brilliant 8-page book I've ever written, or I've ever read. Sorry. Um, the difficult part was in trying to understand. So the issue that we need to always remember is that you might not understand it on the first reading. So please make sure that you keep reading the books until you get to a level of understanding or level of vibration that allows you to easily assimilate those details. Remember, every time you read a book, it doesn't mean that you get 100% what the book was trying to convey. The second reading will add up a few more details that you might basically understand or grab in that book. The third reading will do the same, but every time you reread the book, there's a level of understanding of that content of that book that you keep gaining. The first time you read the book is not 100, it does not guarantee. In fact, the first time you read a book, you do not get 100% what was being conveyed by the author. So it's a must that every person who reads a book, please reread it several times. Read it several times, because every time you read it or you read it, you get a deeper level of understanding of that particular book. So please make sure that you keep reading them. And by the end of the third, the fourth, or the first, or the second rather, reading, you might be able to get the gym and understand the stuff. So once you understand the stuff, please make sure you try them out. Don't just read and then pack the book. Try it. Try out, work out the examples that is working out in those books. Work them out. And in so doing, you gain a certain level of understanding, and you find that at the end of the day, you'll be able to apply the concept correctly in the market, or whichever sphere you want to apply those skills in. So apart from just being able to read the recommendations or going to look up the recommended books in these books, or looking for books that the people that have been mentioned in these books have authored, the other way that you might want to proceed with this is you might want to look up all the books that each of these authors which has been given here has written. Please look them up. The one person that you shouldn't forget is W.D. Gann himself. Please read the books that he has authored himself. It's a must that you have to read them. He didn't recommend his own books, but please make sure that you read his book that he has written. In those books that he has written, he might, one or two here, recommend a book or talk about someone. Please make sure that you look them up and read the books. It's because the ones that have been mentioned and the books that these authors, W.D. Gann himself included, have a certain similar level of understanding of these things, and the grasp of the application is in sync with each of them. That's the reason why they are seeing, or they're recommending each other's books, because they are come to a level of understanding that's on the same level, right? So if you read collectively the books that they have authored and the ones that their friends that they have recommended have authored, whether they be friends or not, but provided they've recommended a book, please make sure you read them, because in so doing, it depends your level of understanding and your skill in application of astrology in whichever sphere, inclusive of the application of neurology in whichever sphere that you are looking at to trade or to forecast. Having said that, please remember to look up the recommended reading list. Remember to look up W.D. Gann's books himself, and please, any book they recommend, please read. And if there's any particular book that you might want a review, please comment in the description, and I'll sure look at it and make a video for that. So once again, thank you for watching this video, and please leave the comments and likes, and please share. Thank you.